Welcome everybody. We're going to talk about some really exciting stuff, HR technology, and specifically employee engagement software. And that's what Mindset Management does. We're a provider of employee engagement software. My name is Vincent Smith, and if I can get this thing to work. AJ, there we go. We're going to start off with what is employee engagement first. When I talk about it, we can think of it as employees' emotional commitment to an organization's values and goals and their willingness to go above and beyond what's required to achieve those goals. And it sounds soft and fluffy, as a lot of things in HR do, but the reality is can't get this thing to work here. There we go. The reality is there's a ton of data that suggests that employee engagement levels lead to high performance in various firms and organizations. And as a matter of fact, firms that have higher engagement scores outperform their lower scoring peers on virtually every business metric that we can think of. And the data's been around for a couple of decades. As a matter of fact, it is so compelling, the data, that in 2016, it's estimated that U.S. companies spent about $74 billion on all things and all solutions relating back to consultant. Now that's a giant, giant number. Don't get too excited. Our piece of the market is considerably smaller, but it's still a lot. Now the more interesting piece of this is that they're spending all of this money, but over the past decade or so, engagement levels haven't changed. So we're spending a bunch of money, but really nothing is actually happening in the background. So we look at it and say, something's busted, and clearly there's a market opportunity here. So Mindset solution for this is, when we look at the problem, we find two things. One, there are a ton of disparate point solutions out there that people are investing in to try to drive their employee engagement scores up because they know the competitive advantage that brings. And if you can't make out these color blobs behind me, that's okay because it's a mess. It's really all of the different solutions that people are trying to put into place to drive engagement, and they're not connected and they're completely siloed. The second thing we find is even more striking, and that's there is one thing that people can do or that drives engagement greater than any other thing out there, and it's simple. It's the employee's relationship with their manager or with their boss or their supervisor. Very simple, but none of these point solutions address that whatsoever. We have data that when we look at suggests it's about 3/4 of an employee's engagement is tied to this metric. Gallup also has research going back for quite a number of years that says the same thing. Right? So how are we addressing it? First, we're going to make one place where all of the different pieces of engagement can come together in one app usable by managers. And number two, we're going to empower those managers in the field to be a part of the solution, right? We're going to give them the tools, the data, and the know-how to influence their relationship with their employees and actually start to make a difference and drive those engagement scores and make their firms more competitive. We're primarily doing this through an app that we're developing called Engage Leader. Now, Engage Leader takes all of the different elements that can help contribute to engagement, like rewards and recognition, and wellness programs and well-being, career pathing, leadership development and learning and development, and putting it all in one place. That's a starter. But the other piece of the puzzle is providing what we call guided mastery journeys to those managers out there in the field. And think of those as small action-oriented activities that they can do that build up over time to help them, and they're based on the employee engagement results. So we're tailoring the content we're delivering to those individual managers based on engagement survey results so that they get what they need to help make a difference. So Engage Leader is actually the next piece of the puzzle for software that we already have developed. That's a core HR technology and engagement and employee engagement software. Right now, the thing with engagement, you have to measure it, and you got to be able to figure out what to do with that data. And our current software that people are using now provides a very simple way to measure and gather reporting on what's going on in your organization, providing people data on what to do with it, and very powerful analytics capabilities so you can answer the questions that you have about your own organization, because everybody's got some different questions they want to answer from that data. And even today, with the existing platform, we can take information that we gather for a given team or given area and push suggestions out to those managers in the field, so that even today they can start to become part of the solution to helping their companies gain that competitive advantage. Now the cool thing is, even if you have your own learning and development content, that can be baked into the system and delivered through the system as it is now and through the engagement app that we're developing. So we're really trying to bridge the gap between data that you have and data that the people need to do their jobs better. There we go. A quick bit about the team. Mindset was founded by a gentleman named Johan Pullen. He's a longtime serial entrepreneur. He actually sold the company a little while back to Autodesk. He created Mindset in 2006 as a consulting company for leadership development. But as things happen in the space, what he was trying to deliver to clients wasn't readily supported by available solutions, and so he started building his own software. Well, a little bit of intuition and a lot of guidance from his clients, and it sort of took on a life of its own. And 2 years ago, we decided to completely switch and build out and focus just on the software piece of it. It turns out people are willing to spend a ton of money on this stuff. For me, my name, Vincent Smith. I'm a recruiter from way back, and I was most recently involved in a company that started here and actually pitched here many years ago called Check.com. We merged with a bigger company in Dallas a while back, became Outmatch, and I headed up partnerships with Outmatch, and I was a co-founder with Check.com. And I like what Johan is building here in the HR tech space. It's what I know. I'm very excited for what we're building, so that's why I jumped on board with him. And hopefully I can get this thing to work right. There we go. A little bit about where we are today. We've got about a little over 30 active partners. We've got just about 40 or so clients. I need to update this. And those are global clients, mostly in South Africa and APAC and a little bit in the US right now. Our primary go-to-market strategy is actually selling annual software licenses through a reseller channel. Helps keep the sales costs down. And we do sell direct. When the app comes out, that'll be available in various platforms in the App Store as well. And we're also pursuing white label licensing agreements. We're working on our first one right now with a giant management consulting company, and that's obviously pretty exciting for us. When we sell direct, we do target companies that are typically in the 500 to 5,000 person range. That's sort of our sweet spot, but of course opportunistically we do take companies that are larger or smaller than that. So my ask for you is if you're looking to make a change in your organization, we're looking for more US people to sort of bring this to at the moment. If you know of anybody that's looking to make a change in their organization, my ask is just an introduction and a conversation to see if this is something that's a potential fit. And if it's not, I've been in this space for a long time, and I'm really happy to make any connections that might help you get to where you want to go. So that's all I've got tonight for employee engagement. Thanks. Any questions?
So could you give an example of a guided mastery tour that you might take someone on?
As my friend Jeremiah had said, he thought of it as a campaign in a game that has multiple adventures that you go along and complete each one. And I think that's probably the best way to describe it. And where this is essentially really helpful is, think about somebody who gets promoted into a new job, right? Typically, we don't train that person like how to have a one-on-one, what to do with a team meeting, how to set objectives, things that they're really left in the dark about. These are all things we can bake into those journeys to help that person. But the feedback that we're getting and what that adventure, that journey is really dictated by the employee engagement scores and feedback we're getting from their team and from their department. So it's highly customized to make sure that they're actually doing what's going to help their team and not just some generic sort of goal. Does that help?
Well, I'm curious if you could just explain what one of those paths might look like, because I get a big picture, but I'm trying to understand, what would those specific tasks kind of be like?
That's a bit of a longer conversation. I'm happy to go in with you afterward. That's actually what's taking up most of our development time right now. It's not the software, it's those journeys, and we're working with IO folks to help determine that. And that's a complicated topic. I've only got a couple of them that are developed currently that I could talk about, but I can share that in a little bit.
So you mentioned that despite spending $70 billion, they have trouble actually increasing engagement. Looks like you have enough experience. Do you measure engagement directly, or do you have other people do it, and does this work?
No, so the software we have, like the core offering that people are using right now in the market, is a measurement tool that provides feedback and intervention suggestions and things of that nature. Here's what happens. Engagement typically today is something that HR and top-level executives take ownership of, and they're forcing that down into the organization. And sometimes, if they actually do it, they make short-term changes. But it's not sustainable over the long term, because the people, the managers down in the field who actually can make the difference, they're not really involved in any of that, right? So our goal is to take that information and put it into the hands of those managers. If we can influence how they interact with their employees and their teams, we know that that's going to make a huge difference. And all we have to do is make a little bit of a difference, and our clients are going to outperform their peers by a wide margin.
So there's two things, and I've been in HR tech for a number of years as well. There's two things, Vince, that are interesting to me. The first is the mobilization of managers or leaders, because a lot of that isn't in the marketplace today. And the second thing that I find really interesting is taking it to the next level and not just measuring employee engagement. Like a lot of, I assume your competition is just straight measurement, but not doing anything with that data because they don't know what to do with it. Do you see that as your two key differentiators?
I would say that's a huge part of it, right? We're measuring, we're getting the data, and you're right, it's what you do with the data. The top-down interventions by themselves don't work. But the key thing that we see is that engagement, employee engagement really involves so many facets of HR. All the things that determine your company's culture, your organizational way of life, right? Your employee experience, all of those things influence how engaged a person is going to be. And we want to tie those all together into one place and make this actually efficient and allow managers sort of access to all of this data and not relying on executives saying, you need to do this, right? That's where things are falling off the rails right now.
So have you measured how engagement changes before companies adopt your system and after a company adopts?
Oh, absolutely. That's a huge piece, right? There's a comparison mechanism built right in because, we measure it, we get a baseline, then we do, put into place all the solutions, whatever that's going to be the interventions, and then we can measure it at any period of time we want to afterward to see how things are changing. The cool part is we can make that part of a manager's performance appraisal as well, making sure that they're doing stuff within their departments to affect change, and we can measure and report on that too. All right, thanks guys, appreciate it.